Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday morning. Those of you living in Chennai might have gone shopping instead. Those of you living in a different zone in Tamil Nadu might still be in full lockdown, and some of you might actually have to check what the current rules and regulations are, because this is part of our new normal. Constant change, constantly checking what applies where, when, to whom. But this is not the new normal we want to speak about this morning. We have invited Mr. Srinivasan, Dr. Naresh, Dr. Dengel, Dr. Priscilla Sathianathan, and Dr. Satish to speak about the new normal in the field of education. Because while we have to check if a museum or a restaurant is open or not today, the most important institution for children and youngsters, the schools, have been closed for so long now. If schools are closed, how do we try to make sure that the knowledge still reaches the students? With so much technology in between the students and the teacher and this very traditional bond between them, how do we make sure they are motivated to actually check the knowledge that we provide? So even if we find the means, how do we make sure that they are still interested in this sitting at home in front of their laptops? And last but not least, exams. No one likes them, everyone fears them, but they are very important instruments to check if we have succeeded in getting the knowledge that is essential for the kids to the recipients. All of these are burning issues, and the solutions we find or do not find today will have an effect on the future of future generations. So I'm very thankful for to our speakers for joining us today. And I would like to thank our language department of Goethe-Institut Chennai, namely Prabhakar Narayanan and his team, for bringing us all together to speak about these issues. And I would also like to thank Puneet Kaur from our regional office in Delhi, who has kindly agreed to moderate this Saturday morning. So I'm looking forward to all the input and ideas that you have and wish us all a great discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Guragan. Yeah, Director Goethe-Institut Chennai. Very good morning to one and all. We have today 5 panelists for this group panel discussion. The first one, I'd like to introduce Dr. Priscilla Sathianathan. She has done her doctorate in applied psychology, and she's one of the leading clinical psychologists in the nation today. She has held various positions, and currently she is a senior consultant psychologist of Madras Memory Clinic. Welcome, ma'am, Dr. Priscilla Sathianathan, for our panel discussion today. Yeah, thank you very much for being with us today in spite of your child's 18th birthday. Yeah, we wish your daughter a very happy birthday and a lot of blessings, many more happy returns.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next member I'd like to introduce is Dr. Dengel, who is from Germany, but has settled down in India. He has been also associated with EcoPro, working for environmental health and public hygiene and promoting concepts of ecosystem health. And he is currently associated with Harsha Vidya Mandir in Chennai. He's engaged in teaching primarily of environmental science and teacher training, professional development. Also, he's a board member of SAIR, that is Sri Aurobindo International Institute of Education Research, since 2004. Welcome, Dr. Lucas Dengue, to our panel discussion today. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Dengue.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Then I take pleasure in introducing our Dr. P.A. Naresh, who is again one more psychologist whom we are having in the panel. Dr. Naresh is currently the Joint Director of School Education, and he is also a Special Officer of Kalvi Toleikachi, Kalvi TV project. As Joint Director, Dr. Naresh has served in several departments such as libraries, examinations, matriculation board, secondary school board, RMSA, personnel and teachers recruitment. We are very happy to have you, sir, Dr. Naresh today for this panel discussion. Thank you for agreeing to be with us today and sharing your views. Then I invite Mr. Srinivasan, Head Regional Officer, Southern Zone, Central Board of Secondary Education, Zonal Office in Chennai. He's associated with CBSE since 2010. He has served in Guwahati, and Bhubaneswar region and in CBSE New Delhi headquarters. And Mr. Srinivasan took charge as CBSE Southern Zone Regional Officer, Head Regional Office in Chennai since 2018. Thank you, Mr. Srinivasan, sir, for being with us today for this panel discussion. And now I come to Dr. Satish. He has served as principal of DAV Gopalpuram, one of the prestigious institutions of Chennai, since for more than 28 years. And he has also been appointed by CBSE to inspect schools for affiliation. He plays a role of mentor for teachers and head examiner and paper setter for board exams. He is also director of Mitras Leadership Academy and Director General of ABS Group of Schools. Dr. Satish has also been showered with a plethora of awards, among which the President's Award for the Best Teacher by former President of India, Excellency Mrs. Pratibha Patil. Welcome, Dr. Satish, sir, for being with us today for this panel discussion. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Mrs. Puneet Kaur, who is also my colleague at Goethe-Institut. Currently, she's the head of she heads the Department of Schools and Education Services at Goethe-Institut, Maxlaba, New Delhi, regional office for South Asian region, covering 12 institutes in the entire region, in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Nepal, and Iran. Puneet is also president of INDAF, Indian German Teachers Association, and she is also general secretary of IDV, we call in German. It's International Deutschlehrerverband, International German Teachers Association. So thank you, Puneet Kaur, for agreeing to moderate the session today. And yeah, I leave the floor to Mrs. Puneet Kaur now for today's panel discussion.
Good morning to everyone. I think the only one from outside Tamil Nadu here, so up here north where it's burning up. I'm sure you have better weather out there where you all are. Here we don't go below 40 degrees. And as Mrs. Gergen pointed out, we also look out every day as to what are the new norms which are happening around us. And considering in Delhi we are surrounded by 2 states and live in 3 different zones in many ways. Every day we have to decide what are the rules and norms in Delhi, in Haryana and in UP, because they keep changing and we sort of keep going between these 3 places. So I think life is a little complicated for all of us now. But to start the discussion, I think we've heard what an eminent panel we have today, and I'm sure it's going to be a very, very fruitful and interesting discussion. And I'm told that the results of this discussion will flow into a kind of a concept paper, which will hopefully also help formulate policy for the future, because all of us as of now I think are groping a little in the dark as to what's going to come after this. And I'm glad that the Goethe-Institut Chennai has taken this initiative to start talking about this, because we have to start now with these discussions so that when the time comes, which we hope will be very soon post the pandemic, we know how to deal with the new situation that arises, old, new, old, whatever it is. We'll start today with a small video, if I'm not mistaken. Prabhakar, am I right? Where we first let one of the most important stakeholders in this whole discussion, one of the students, we want to listen to what she has to say. I think that will be very interesting to hear before all of us theorists come up with our versions.
Hello everyone, my name is Abhinaya and I am studying in 12th standard in a government girls higher secondary school. And I am also a student of Goethe Institution. I feel good in regular classes, that I can learn much good and understand easily, effectively without any distractions. While in online class, I can't learn much and I can't understand effectively and I am distracting a lot. In a regular classes, I can clear my doubts correctly and clearly, and I can ask with my classmates and we study together. It helps me a lot. The smartphone or television more than hours, affecting my eyes, and I am having headache, neck pain, shoulder pain, etc. Regular classes helps me a lot to learn. So I wish making regular classes is wonderful and needful too.
So I think we at least managed to get a gist of what the girl had to say, and she said it so well. I think it gives you hope for the future when our kids can think so critically. So that's good to hear. So Dr. Srinivasan, a very good morning to you. Maybe start with you, sir, with your permission. The CBSE is a premier institution in our country, which is first of all present in every corner of the country, and any decision it takes is viewed with a lot of interest. So we're always wanting to know as to what you have doing, what you have to say. And in the context of this pandemic, one thing one noted was that the CBSE was always very, very quick to react. Especially when it started, it took some very, very child-friendly decisions. For example, that said that let us first rationalize the curriculum, because online it is so difficult for children to imbibe so much content. So their first step of rationalizing the curriculum, followed by some decisions also in the form of examinations, I think went a long way in trying to alleviate this the potential suffering the kids could have gone through. But thanks to your very, very sagacious decisions, that was not the case. But I'm sure it was not easy for the CBSE to take these decisions. It was a very challenging task we were pitted against.
The decision may suit one and may not be suiting the other. However, actually we have to take a majority view to cover the well-being of the majority of the students. So with that, and by widening the consultative mechanism to the extent possible, board could get the views from all corners and take a considered decision.
I said the board has had to take some very difficult and challenging decisions over the past year and a half. And one of the decisions we just talked about was also the rationalization of the syllabus. Now, the 2 points of view on that, as I understand it, on the one hand, some people lament the fact that the children are getting less knowledge. After all, 30% of the syllabus has been rationalized, and they say, oh God, that means they're getting 30% less content. But there's another line of thought which says, perhaps that is enough. We were overdoing it earlier. This is a good way for us to sort of peep into things and say, are we overdoing it with our kids? Maybe they don't have to get so much knowledge. It's more important to how to handle what little knowledge they get. So where does the board and your own point of view stand on that?
Academically, actually, the syllabus is not reduced or not cut. So the schools are at liberty to, do the syllabus full, but to reduce the pressure with a view, keeping in mind the examination point of view. So this rationalization is suggested. So it is not that the schools need not teach these portions. They have to teach the portions, and they can give importance accordingly. So it is not that they will completely omit the syllabus.
So it is not the syllabus which has been reduced, but it is the syllabus for the examination which has been reduced, thus taking the pressure off the children. Right. So, does the board envisage something like this also in the future, that one says there is a syllabus, that is what we want our children to learn, but when it comes to examining, we maybe need to have a slightly different outlook and reduce the pressure on the children, because we all know how these board examinations are actually a bit of a nightmare for parents, children and families.
Apart from rationalization of the syllabus, the entire year-long syllabus has been divided into two, 50-50 ratio, and the examination also will be conducted as a term and examinations. For the first term with the first term portions, and for the second term with the second term portions. And when the rationalization of syllabus is released, so we will know that the portions are equally reduced for term 1 and term 2 also. So like this, actually we are trying to compartmentalize so that children will not have much pressure in learning as well as in preparing for the examinations also. So this will be continued actually slowly in the future also, and this assessment pattern will be followed actually in the future also, so that actually we are prepared in advance to face such unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you, sir. I think you're proving the old maxim right when one said every crisis is also an opportunity. And this crisis has been an opportunity for us to rethink our examination system. And I think the experiment that the CBSE has done this year of dividing the whole syllabus into 2 terms and testing the children twice will take the pressure off the children, and I think will go a long way in sort of reforming the examination system the way we have known it, well, I would say almost since 30, 40 years maybe also. Thank you, sir. Those were some very, very interesting inputs. And I think we will, all of us, the whole country looks towards the CBSE to see what they are going to do. And I think other boards kind of follow suit. So your work is always pioneering work, which is well under observation. Thank you so much, sir. Now we come to Dr. Naresh, Joint Director and Special Officer, Kalvi TV, Tamil Nadu State Board, Chennai. So welcome. It's a pleasure to see you here. I, from a little far away, have always wondered as to why in this pandemic we have not used the medium of television more and depended so much on online teaching to sort of bridge this problem that arose. Because a large number of our students may not have access to digital devices, but everybody has a television at home. At least I think in India, wherever I go to any remote corner, you'll find people have access to television. Tamil Nadu, therefore, I feel has been a pioneer in using this medium, and your particular channel is, of course, doing sterling work over there. Yeah. How do you think that your outreach, Kalvi TV's outreach, helped alleviate this problem of the digital divide? That's what interests us the most.
No, let me be very frank with you. It was not even normal at the beginning when the whole country was going under the pandemic, when it was locked down during March 2020. And we were about to finish all our board examinations, and 12th standard managed to complete, but not for all other classes. And at no time, as we were facing this pandemic, the new academic year was about to begin. And we were fortunate, as you were telling, that we had somehow little functional Kalvi TV project in our state, because it was started in 2019. Now we were already at the beginning of new academic year, and there were directions from the government that this TV channel is to be optimally utilized so that the joy of learning, students should not be at the disadvantage of learning because schools are physically closed. So the discussion was this, that Kalvi TV, which is available through cable television network, because we have a very strong cable television network in our state, and we have a government arm also, Tamil Nadu Arasu Cable TV Corporation. So initially we thought that we could reach our students through this cable TV. But subsequently, cable TV was also not accessible all across the state. Then we roped it private channels, 10 private channels, along with the 4 DTH operators. And this is the medium through which we were trying to reach our students. But the biggest challenge is preparing video lessons. So we thought that there are diets spread across the state. In the beginning, it was 32 diets in different districts in the state. And district chief educational officers of the school education department, their responsibility was to bring in or identify the best teachers who can handle classes. So the teachers were provided by the education department, and the DIET, District Institute of Education and Training, they were providing the physical infrastructure of recording the videos. And we people are sitting in Chennai, and the videos are generated at the district level. With the support of the cloud technology, we managed to transfer all the videos from the district to the state headquarters. At the district level also, we had a quality team, because they had to vet the content. So it was vetted at the district level and subsequently at the state level also. Now, with the cable TV operations, along with 9 private channels and 4 DTH operators, we managed to reach almost 90% of the student population in our state. It was a huge reach, because you cannot expect our government school students having the luxury of holding a smartphone. And again, the network reach, broadband connectivity is also another problem, which is available at a cost. It is not available for free. And as you rightly said, whether we go to the northeastern region or the northern part or any part of the country, every house is provided with a television set. And we were a pioneer in a sense that some 15 years back, the government was coming out with the free television sets to all homes. We may not say that all are functional, but at least the idea of having a television set is already in the mindset of a common man. Over the years, people have since certain degree of economic growth, so owning a TV is not a problem, and providing education through television was ultimate way out for the department also. And you'll be really surprised, within a short period, we started our operation in July 15. By October, we were having 8,000 video lessons of 30 minutes durations. And it was all possible because of the support of the teachers, the educational administrators, and also the support of private TV, television network. Now, because they did not charge us anything. No, they offered us free service during this pandemic as a corporate social responsibility. So we managed to reach our students to a greater extent through this television network. But another challenge is that they were, it was a one-way communication. We were producing the videos, we were telecasting through our centralized studio in Chennai, and they were trying to receive all these videos at the comfort of their home. Now we call this as V2P, which means school at home. So at the comfort of their drawing room, they managed to watch the TV, but assessment was very important. Whether they were learning or not, that was a huge issue. That was the issue which was not addressed throughout the year. But at the school level, individual subject teachers, they were roped in. They were trying to connect students through the telephone network, and they were constantly sensitizing them that today is their class at this particular time, because we prepared an universal timetable. We started the telecast at 5:30 in the morning. It was closed at the 10:30 in the evening, and after that it was all along a repeat telecast. But our teacher force, almost 5 lakh teachers across the state, and they were very easily reachable through social media network, mail, and other things. So along with the Kalvi TV administration, the teachers at the district level, at the school level, they were also constantly reaching students and expecting students to attend their classes. This is how we managed to do, and we thought that that will come to an end before the end of the last year. But again, pandemic continues, and very recently our Honorable Chief Minister launched the new academic year. This year we are physically, mentally, psychologically, not only the administrative team, but even the parents as well as students are also prepared that this is going to be the new normal, the hybrid way of learning, making use of television, making use of smartphones, and if possible, in the days to come, the physical classes when it resumes, now our students will have the benefit of interacting with the teachers. But all along, it was a challenge. Now, because constantly expecting a boy to sit before a television set or before a smartphone for long hours is not going to be so easy. That is why we structure our videos for just 30 minutes only, 28.5 minutes. And because of which they had the benefit of accessing video lessons from teachers in different places. In a physical classroom or in a physical environment, only the same teacher will continue to handle the class throughout the academic year. Because of this technology intervention, it helped us to rope in the best teacher available in the state. And not only one chapter being handled by one teacher, even a same chapter, one chapter being handled by multiple teachers. Now, because it is subdivided into subtopics, so teachers' expertise was also more important. And similarly, the way they handle, whether they manage to engage our student community, all these factors were taken into account. And over and above, if they fail to watch television on the given day, the next day, the following day, we upload all these telecasted videos in the YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is also having the maximum reach. Now it is running into several millions, almost 20 million students watching Kalvi TV YouTube channel over a period. So, and through that YouTube channel, we get the analytics. Analytics, which teacher lecture was so popular, like which lecture was watched several times, like that. And similarly, there is a feedback mechanism in the YouTube which says that this teacher taught us wrongly, or this is a mistake which is crept in. So all these aspects are taken into account, and because it is being constantly reviewed, our quality vetting team is placed in the state headquarters. So this is how we are trying to do justice for learning, particularly for our students, because out of 59,000 schools, 45,000 schools are government run schools. We have about 1.3 crore children on our roll, out of which 65,000 students are directly administered by government departments. So it's a huge responsibility for the government to see that they are provided with this learning assistance. And as for Dr. Satish is also here, and as for private schools are concerned, they have their own way of handling students through online classes. So we never encroach upon their benefit of reaching the students, but we have got a very big repository of reading materials through video lessons that for all the days to come will be of great help.
This is a very, very, very impressive project. I think it should serve as a best practice example for the rest of the country. Now, your videos must be in Tamil, otherwise I think you could have scaled up to the whole country. Everybody would have been lining up outside Kalvi TV to take benefit of what you have done. It's also a mammoth project. It's a challenging project, as you said. And I could imagine that one of the biggest challenges must have been preparing the teachers, choosing the teachers, first of all, who sort of produced these videos, worked on the lessons. But also, it's a different medium than standing in front of a class with the chalk and a duster in your hand. So how are the teachers prepared for this new form of teaching?
Yes, before coming for this one, I would say we parallelly prepared our English medium videos also.
Okay.
So we have the repository of both Tamil medium as well as English medium. Our timetable was addressing the needs of classes 2nd standard to 11th standard last year. Last year we did not have any first standard admission in government schools, and this year our telecast taken into account 1st standard to 12th standard. And our state since 2011 is distributing free laptop to higher secondary students. And when the free laptop is given to the students, all these video lessons for 12th standard students are preloaded, copied into their laptops, and they can sit comfortably and watch any number of time the video lessons. And as for teachers, you rightly pointed out, it was not normal for our teachers to stand before video cameras because they earlier had the privilege and the luxury of trying to take the class the way they liked. They can go to any extent of citing or extrapolating any examples. Whereas when they stand before a camera, they are consciously aware that it is being recorded. And not only it is being recorded, it is going to be telecast. And their audience is not limited to 30 or 40 students in a given classroom. It is going to be lakhs of students all across the state. And our YouTube channel, that was giving us a record to state that students and teachers, we are not very aware because the age group is that close to 30 plus and above. Teachers or the parents living in Dubai, living in UK, living in Australia, they also watched their videos and they also gave us the comments. And all these things put a tremendous pressure on our teachers. Not that teachers are new to the professions, they are handling classes for several years, but the minute they come to know that it is being recorded, it is going to be broadcast and it is subject to comments or they are answerable to the feedback. That put little amount of stress on the teachers, and it was the experience of us in the beginning. But now our teachers are reasonably prepared enough. They come out voluntarily on their with their PowerPoint, with the medias, so that they make the classrooms more effective. But any teacher who comes for the first time, they experience a very stressful thing in the beginning.
Right, so it's good to hear that you have things in English too, videos in English too. I think you should advertise them a little more. Tamil Nadu anyhow has the best academic results in the country, and people know that. So I think if they knew that material was available from your state, I think you'd have a lot more people logging in. I think you need to start a publicity campaign there so that more people profit from all the hard work and good work that the Tamil Nadu board is putting in there. So thank you for those comments. I have one last question to you, sir. We hear there's a lot of migration from private schools. Dr. Satish is here, perhaps he can confirm it. I don't know what this development, how it's to be seen. But a lot of private school students are migrating to the government schools. I don't think we hear that very much in other parts of the country. So that means also there's more pressure on the government schools, though you are the largest number of schools. So how do you sort of plan to accommodate this new influx of students to the government schools? Because that's pressure on your system.
Yes, it is true that students are migrating from private schools for a variety of reasons. The pandemic, they put a lot of pressure in terms of the financial burden put on the parents. Because there was a loss of livelihood for the parents, and which had impact on the family also, and that was the main cause. And second thing is that there was some sort of learning crisis or learning divide between private and public schools that was there. But subsequent to the best efforts made in many other areas, say for example centrally sponsored schemes like Samagra 6 or Sarva 6 Abhiyan, that provided the required impetus for us in terms of physical infrastructure, in terms of number of teachers, in terms of training, capacity building available to teachers. This has been going on for the last 2 decades. This made the government schools in an enviable position to attract the imagination of the common public. That is also another thing. But pandemic was a major player in bringing more number of children to the government schools. Over and above, you will be really surprised to know that there are 14 different welfare schemes available in government schools, which is available all free of cost. Not only they are getting laptops, they are getting free bicycles, they are getting all the term books throughout the year, 4 sets of uniforms, nutritious meals, including egg. There are several things. This becomes a level playing field for government schools. Not only that, accessibility, another area of interest. We have provided almost universal accessibility for primary schools, for upper primary, secondary also. And some of the panelists sitting here would appreciate that for the last 3 or 4 years, this is another issue, surplus teachers in government schools, which means there are more number of teachers, less number of students. And because of this, and as you pointed out, how are we going to take the load of new students? We have adequate infrastructure in terms of classrooms as well as teachers. These are very important components, but not students or the parents are selecting all the schools as per their choice. They are very keen on selecting a particular school, and particular school may not have all the required infrastructure. Might be because it is overcrowded already, or there is no scope for a horizontal growth of buildings. Only vertically we can add floors to the existing schools, but there is another department which restricts that school building cannot be more than ground plus 2 floors. So that is also another challenge, particularly in reputed schools situated in cities or district headquarters. They cannot take in all the required all the new enrollments. But schools, in terms of accessibility, having provided more in number in recent years, they are better prepared to accommodate all these students.
Now we know why Tamil Nadu leads the country as far as education is concerned, as the envy of every other state. We can hear from your deliberations as to what all the government of Tamil Nadu and your department is doing to improve the situation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So now we come to our next panelist, Dr. Lucas Dengue, who is a doctor but is quite obviously very interested in education, and it's good to know when people from various fields, because education is where it all begins. So, sir, welcome to our program. And I'll start with you with asking, Dr. Naresh just talked about it, but I think the shift to online classes has changed the life of teachers. How do you view this, sir?
Thank you. It is mainly one CBSE school in Chennai and many smaller schools here in Oroville, which are kind of living in a space of maximum freedom in regard to their own curriculum and their own challenges. But the same and common comment from all teachers and students is high time we get back to classroom teaching. Not so much because the classroom is the ideal situation, simply because everybody who has gone through these times of restricted physical meeting, restricted hardly possible meetings in groups, in classes, is wary of being isolated on a screen. It is not the same as a physical meeting. We know it even here in this situation. And I have not found anybody who says, oh, it is great. It was such a great opportunity. Let's have another pandemic. We want to go on with online teaching. Everybody says, we are wary of it. Can we please have physical classroom teaching? It is not, as I said, it is not the classroom. It is the opportunity to be together, have that physical presence of the other students, number one. Social learning sounds a bit vague and a bit fuzzy and not very convincing, but to the younger the child, the more important is learning to be in groups other than, let's say, nuclear family or even relatives, extended family. That learning aspect is so important, and that is not only just there for PP level, pre-primary level, it is there for primary level, it is there for middle school level. It goes there very much into adolescent ages, and it is there, if we remember our own times as adolescents and youngsters, 17, 18, 19-year-old, you need buddies, you need peers, you need to live and be in groups. And it is not just for the sake of emotional satisfaction, it is for the sake of learning. Peer learning, group learning is one of the most important aspects of learning. Now, this might not be one of the major features of the established schooling all over the world. It is all about passing in exams, especially in the later classes. Let's let that even be valid. Whoever is a school graduate should be able to show, I've done enough. I can join college or whatever comes after. Somewhere that has to be shown, but for the 12 years before, what had to be shown? The schooling need not be exams driven. Now we have kind of in the established schooling, we have turned it a bit around because the college wants to know that this student is apt for this subject. We say, let's prepare them in the 11th and 12th. And because they have to prepare in the 11th and 12th, let's prepare them in the 9th and 10th. And because we want to go there, then we say, oh, why not go through the college curriculum in the middle school? And why not prepare it? There's something has become, I don't know, twisted in our approach. It is not about that final exams. It is all about learning and the big and motivation for learning, and not motivation for exams exclusively. Let the motivation for passing a good exams be there in the last class. Let it be there in the 11th and 12th. But why does it have to drive schooling and education in the 3rd and 5th and 7th grade? I don't get it. I simply would say there is no need for it. There has to be motivation. There has to be interest, there has to be challenges, there has to be the joy of learning, the joy of meeting challenges, the joy of growing. And that is something which the teacher has to inspire, to promote, to facilitate that joy. And that comes with many different factors, and every teacher has to go through a lot of continuous learning, continuous upgrading one's skills, that is one thing. But in classroom, peer learning, exchange is an important factor, and we miss it right now. Number one. Number two, it is not only the peers, the students amongst each other, it is also the teacher. I miss meeting, I have these occasional guest lectures in the school, but I miss meeting them physically in the classroom, seeing the 20, 30, whatsoever number of students in front of me and getting an atmosphere of how alert they are, how captivated they are they all with me? Do I lose them? Who is not participating? Who is fully there? There's always one or two in every class, in every subject. But to have maximum participation, maximum motivation, for all that, I rather want to have the classroom. I simply cannot do it online. So I'm fully in tune with the teachers and students who say we are wary of online teaching, we want to go back. Now, in the meantime, people have developed skills because we went through this phase, emergent situation, how to survive the situation. We are not supposed to meet in groups, in larger groups, in dense groups. We are supposed to space physically to keep distance. Fine, let's accept. And then we are all happy to have IT and have online teaching to survive that. But I do not expect that this will, we need to, how to say, I don't want to dismiss IT and online teaching and online classes. We all learn from there. We all use the global encyclopedia of the internet. No one says, bad, we have an internet, bad, we have a World Wide Web. We're all happy it's there. But it is not the instrument that I'm not keen on perfectionizing IT technology for the sake of teaching. Good teaching depends on brilliant approaches of the teachers, and if the more material we have, thanks to Kalvi TV or thanks to any other producer of good lectures, brilliant. We all will make use of them. But I hoped we had also made use of them before COVID. When I found a good video on YouTube or any other institution on the net, then I used it also before COVID. It was not about online teaching. It was making intelligent use of what is available, trying to find the best lecture and not the cheapest, not the simplest, not the most primitive, not the most one-sided, a multi-sided approach to a subject. I don't know whether I make much sense, but when I talked about the topic of our today's panel discussion with Balaji and Mrs. Hema, I said, what is the point here? What does it mean? What do you want to discuss? Opportunities and challenges in classroom teaching after the pandemic? Are they different from before? I don't see they are so much different. We probably have learned and improved a few of our technologies and maybe even teaching skills. But the teaching challenge, the educational challenge is not so different in 2021-22 from 2020 and 2019, is it? There's one more aspect I would like to highlight. Whatever skills we develop, whatever means we develop, there's a huge difference between having the 5-year-old ones and the 7-year-old ones and the 12-year-old ones sitting in front of screens and the 15 and the 18-year-old ones. We are adults, we're sitting in front of screens much time of our professional life and exchange. Anyway, there's nothing wrong about the screen, but I would say there's even nothing wrong about the screen for the 4-year-old one. But what should be his main occupation? That should not be the screen. I find that is disastrous. That a child nowadays knows how to use a touch screen on a smartphone, okay, but hopefully it is not only learning that. That would be damaging, I would say. This is not learning. This is the skill of a finger swiping over a screen. That is a very limited skill. And commanding the world through that touch screen, it does not prepare you for life. Sorry, it does not prepare you for social interaction, nor for cognitive learning, nor for any other learning. So I would like to see a discussion that is more age appropriate. The elder classes, they can be challenged. There can be many challenges we manage through the screen, through online teaching. Middle level, it gets tough. Students are really wary. And primary levels and lower, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, sadly. You can put the children in front of a TV for some time. What was that channel in the US 30, 40 years ago, Sesame Street? Yes, but not 12 hours a day, not 5 hours a day. That is a little program, half an hour a day. That's fine. That adds to education. It can be positive. But that only cannot be positive. Sorry, I doubt it. And I'm sure there's enough research to back up my statement. So these are my spontaneous responses to that topic. Opportunities and challenges educationally. Anything new? Yes, we had to develop some skills and some means to go through the crisis. But I hope we have a much richer engagement on the direct social level after the crisis. And whatever we have learned, because we had to, okay, we had to. Emergency makes creative, innovative. But that is how I see the topic in that context.
Right, so thank you. I think if you had managed to see that video, you would have found yourself, what you have said, being confirmed by a young student who sort of said more or less what you said. So you are in good company there. If the kids think the way you think, you must be right. Let's try to kind of go with that. It was an emergency. We had to develop new skills. I'm sure those new skills are not going to go away. Some of it will carry through, and for good reason. But I'm sure all of us, whether it's kids or it's teachers or it's others, will gravitate towards the classroom slowly and steadily. Something I think is going to be a natural progression, but that's my personal opinion. We can come back to that if we have time for a discussion later. I have one more question for you, sir. We heard just now that because of this crisis situation, syllabi were rationalized. There was the core subjects came more and more into focus. Everybody thought we have to do our physics and maths and our chemistry and biology and social studies. But a schooling is much more than that. It's not just learning these core subjects. It's about values. It is about creativity. Do you think that has been totally ignored in the past year and a half?
I don't think it has been completely ignored or dismissed, but it was neglected to some extent, because teachers were kind of focusing back onto how can we survive, what can we save through the crisis, because there will be an exams. So if we had enlarged the engagement and the attitude of the teacher before the crisis, so to speak, in the crisis, they were kind of shrinking again back to how do we survive, how to survive, there will be an exam, there will be an exam, how do we go about that? And then, of course, CBSE had to constantly adjust and make a new decision and made suggestions that were all greatly appreciated, but that did not help in let's say, saving the larger vision of an educational mission. It was suddenly again back to the next exams, because these students, these higher secondary, higher secondary students, they still have that pressure. So how do we manage that? There was one more aspect to your question. What was that?
It's about the values and the creativity, which may not have been promoted in the past year and a half. So,
you see, I think there is good research and there is great comparative research all over the globe that it is one thing to learn any subject in quantity and through repetitions and exercising, and it's not cramming, it is just make it mechanically available. There's nothing wrong about that. If you have to do a certain skill in a profession, it has to be available mechanically. You have to react in the right way, whether you are a mechanic or a surgeon, whatever you are, you have to react fast and well trained. But that is not the one and only purpose of education, of school education. That can come for your skill learning. Then you cannot be skilled in everything. If you're a good basketball player, you're probably not the best weightlifter or any other sports. So you cannot develop super skills in all directions. But in the school, it is not yet about developing one particular skill at a very high level. It is still, the broadness is still important. And that research I refer to, the global research, which compares what is being taught and how, even in mathematics, there are approaches to mathematics teaching which are 3 exercises per hour in depth. Approach them all from the same, approach them from different angles, creatively, make mistakes, learn by your mistakes, learn by being on the wrong track. It's one of the best opportunity to learn is making a mistake, because at that moment you are alert and wanting to make it right. And in other countries, it is all about this is the way it goes smoothly and fast, and this is one of the easiest and smartest way to reach the goal. So let's exercise it 30 times. There are not many who understand why it has to be exercised, but then it's like this mechanical skill, which I will defend. There is a use of that mechanical skill, but that is not what I would expect from schooling. Not at the age of 12, 14, 16. That comes later in you need a professional skill in one particular subject. You need to be fast and just react. But I would hope once upon a time you had the full understanding in depth. Like this. You don't have to go through all the depths again and again and again. That's established. But we have very little of that. And if we can reduce the curriculum, we have more time. If you can reduce the quantity, we have more time for in-depth conceptual understanding and not the memorization and mechanical repetitive learning. And maybe, I don't know whether the times of the crisis in the online teaching was a great opportunity for more in-depth conceptual understanding. I doubt it, because people, the students, as well as the parents and the teachers, were kind of how do we survive to the next exams? That was the focus. And that's a little bit of pity, but I can't blame anybody, because we're all going through the same problem, COVID-19 in 21.
Thank you. I think, as you said, everybody was preparing for exams right through this period, for the exams not to happen after that, because the pandemic even made that difficult. So how purposeful was that is a different matter. Thank you, sir. We'll come back to you later in the discussion. Now, if I may talk to you, Dr. Priscilla. Welcome, ma'am. We're looking, I think you as a psychologist, psychiatrist, have had a really, really challenging time in these past few months, with more and more people coming up with mental health issues. Considering we are in the realm of education today, have you, in your experience in the past year and a half, seen any serious adverse impact of this online life that we all are leading today? Where there is hardly any human connectivity, social skills are kind of being neglected. So how do you help people who come to you with these kind of issues? How are psychiatrists and our psychologists dealing with this, ma'am?
We are very optimistic, and we first have a positive outlook. So I would say that the online learning comes next. Actually, globally, just this pandemic and the thing of Corona and COVID has caused a lot of anxiety and depression. So I think more than the students, the parents, they are more stressed and trying desperately to cope themselves. And we have seen both a short-term impact on the children and parents as well as a long-term. See, if you have, it depends on a lot of factors. See, the girl on the video was talking about the neck pain and headache, which is more of a geriatric problem. I was quite unhappy about it because generally we say psychosomatic illnesses, the psychological stress causes the soma, the body pain. But I think Director SCRT rightly said they only show, the screen for 30 minutes. So that's quite lesser time. So we are all in it's a new normal. We are talking about the new normal. So let us be optimistic that there will be blended learning. Online will become mandatory in future. We are growing because once the technology grows, I think there will be a change. We have to be vulnerable to change. So we can't be cribbing and, living in the past. So we have to move forward. So we did see initially in the first wave, most of the children with already pre-existing mental health conditions had aggravated symptoms. Either they totally withdrew from their environment, from their own family members, or they became too externalized, exhibiting their aggression, anger, outbursts. There are a lot of suicidal cases. And I'm sure you'll all know that just in a matter of 6 months, there are almost 1 lakh calls from the children on Childline for child abuse. See, this abuse could be child sexual abuse, it could be emotional abuse, it could be child neglect, anything. Just in a matter of 4 to 5 months of the pandemic last year, 95,000 calls. Do you think we'll be able to manage so many? So, see, after managing and coping with all this comes the study, the education. So last year when we interacted with a lot of parents, they said that forget it, it's survival first. And then comes the education. Ma'am, and if we are not how our children are going to study and we are not able to manage the stress, how can we send them to school? So a lot of other things. So it was like, a combined thing. Both parents and children suffered. And then I can understand, as Dr. Naresh was saying, the teachers were also having a lot of pressure because everybody knew that parents were also monitoring the screen. In a way, I was jokingly telling my children, it's good that now you're going to have very innovative classes because at least one adult is supervising and every teacher is aware of it. So I took it very positively. See, if the child has a right mindset, the technology and the parents, encouragement, there was no problem at all. For the city children, for the private school children. But for the government school children, I do agree, due to lack of resources, lack of mindset, because every wave, see, I don't call it a COVID wave, it was a negative wave globally, a negative wave, a death wave, I should say. So when that was there, why should we, we can't expect the children, the parents and the teachers to perform the same way, to be the same, way as the pre-COVID period. Like the AD and the BC, now it's pre-COVID and post-COVID. So as I told you, for every child, the impact of the psychosocial problem was because of their genetic predisposition, their age, as I think Dr. Lucas rightly said, for younger children, it should be more of outdoor play, socialization, where you develop the social skills, and the screen is not going to work for them. The ophthalmic surgeon said a lot of, eye injuries cases were visiting the eye clinics. So that's the reason I think the court also said you cannot have classes more than 3 hours. But still, I know a lot of private schools have for 6 hours. But I do agree the government has taken a lot of effort. The CBSE is also working on it. See, when a child is conceived, it's not born the next day. It needs a developing period. It needs a growth period of 9 months. Same way, suddenly a pandemic comes, we need to give time to the government, the policymakers, the education board, the teachers, the parents and children themselves to adapt to the change. but positively. We should not deteriorate always complaining, but try to acclimatize us psychologically and physically and proactively keep moving forward.
Perhaps this is the time to see a video we have of a parent who's also an educator, but also a parent who's talked about what he is going through.
Post-pandemic, online educational instructions have become new normal and essential for sustaining teaching-learning process amidst restrictions. Children are now being involved and engaged for hours by the institutions. They themselves also exploring the online content in the quest of knowledge. Therefore, children are now more exposed and susceptible to the vulnerability of excessive screen time and known unknown threats of World Wide Web. As parent, I am in apprehension for the physical, psychological, and cyber safety of my child. These issues are to be assessed, analyzed, and addressed properly in order to make the online learning safe and secure and user-friendly.
We had another video too, which a principal talks about assessment.
I would like to share my views regarding examination and evaluation system in present scenario. Examination, evaluation, assessment, all these are essential components of school education system. Our education system, especially assessment system, has been challenged very badly in this COVID pandemic. Schools are adopting a variety of alternate assessment mechanisms to assess the students' performance online, but huge number of the students are not in access to devices and internet connectivity. So I think it is right time to think about development of alternate assessment mechanism for digitally challenged children or devices deprived children, because it is our moral duty to address the issue of digital divide also. Thank you.
And with everyone's permission, I'd like to talk to Dr. Satish about that. On the whole, I think up till now we've had some excellent inputs. It's been a very steep learning curve for me this past 90 minutes or so. So now, we could come to assessment a little. We have talked about it, and assessment seems to be the issue in many cases for the stress, for the kind of, we seem to sort of be all very focused on that. Whatever we do, we see what will the assessment be like at the end of that. Dr. Priscilla also talked about how parents put pressure on the kids and said, you better do well, otherwise don't think you're going to get anything from me. I think that is also a good line to take, though otherwise, but it does put pressure on the child, right? Now, this pandemic has forced us to think of new ways of assessment. Think of what the CBSE has done recently with the two-term system that they've started, where half the syllabus will be sometime now in September, October, perhaps, the exams, and the other half at the end of the assessment year. So are there any other ideas we're thinking about? How do we de-stress assessment, and how do we make it a little more child-friendly? But at the same time, we should also realize that assessment is essential. The rigor of academia is essential also. It's not something you can just say, okay, life should be easy, assessment should be easy, children should have it easy. So how do we bring these things together?
Well, as rightly highlighted by the panelists, education is changing forever, and the same line, even the assessment pattern has to change. We used to have the standardized testing pattern for the board examination, especially of class 10 and 12, as well as for the middle school and the primary school students. But after the pandemic set in, I'm sure the panelists are aware, and Dr. Naresh will agree with what I'm saying, all promotion became the norm, and not much of importance was given to the testing pattern, and the government did not have any choice, the board did not have any choice, and everybody was promoted. But CBSE has started devising a new strategy, which of course you highlighted, and Mr. Srinivasan also highlighted about it, that they have come with a strategy if the pandemic is going to continue, and we have to definitely can't go with the liberalized policy of awarding marks and promotion. And so they thought about semesterizing the system, Unlike the previous year where the examination was conducted at the end of the year, the last 2 weeks circular state very clearly there's going to be a term 1 examination and term 2 examination, and that is going to be overseen. The examination is going to be overseen by the CBSE officials, where there's going to be an external center superintendent as well as an observer, so that there is no area for complaints from the parents or students about the quality of testing which the CBSE is going to bring in. The pattern as such, of course, the panelists should be aware, and Dr. Naresh would have known about it, is that then in term 1, which you rightly said, the examination is going to be in a 4-week window system of the November and December, which is going to be of 90 minutes MCQ questions, as well as, and the term 2, which is going to be in the month of March and April, is going to be of 2 hours, where the question paper pattern will be based on the case studies and short answer and long answers, more about the subjective nature. And the combination of the term 1 marks and the term 2 marks is going to be taken into account before the board publishes the results. And they also come with the multiple plans. So if the students are not in a position to come to the school for the examination, then of course the online process will go on. And if suppose the term 2 is comfortable for the students and the government allows the students to come to the school to write the examination, then it will be an examination in the school center itself. But the weightage will be more for the exam to be conducted in the school itself. And finally, they are also thinking about loud thinking is going on in case the pandemic continues and there's not a possibility of the students coming to the school. And then, of course, the term 1 and term 2 will go with the online process, and a moderation policy is also being thought about at how before the publication of the result. Now, this is the loud thinking from the CBSE. In case it happens, what should we do? Now, I'm of the opinion now, being in this educational arena for the nearly about 3 decades plus, a time has come where we have to shift from the standardized assessment to adaptive way of looking at assessment, where the personalized results are given more importance. See, as the panelist was highlighting, including Lucas as well as Dr. Naresh and Srinivasan and Madam Priscilla also, that a lot of what is called stress level has creeped in during this particular pandemic period of nearly 15 months. And more so, I have found that especially the primary and the middle school students' parents have taken it for granted. This pandemic is going to continue for some more months. So let us not send the children to the school itself. Now, in spite of me convincing that the education should go on and quality education should happen, but the parents, especially I would say, because I'm involved with schools, some are the rurals and some semi-urban area and city, I find that this rural and semi-urban parents are not very much convinced about the online class. They tend to neglect, and they feel that once everything is over, we can think about admitting the children to school and make them undergo the school education. So the parents are really talking about what is called the conventional method of what they want, a conventional method of teaching and a conventional method of testing. They are not convinced about the online process. No matter how effective we intend to do it, they're not getting convinced about it. So this is what I have found in the past 15 months, that the change happening in the minds of the parents and the students. But whatever said and done, as far as the state board or CBSE is concerned, as well as the educationalists, we feel that the quality of education should not come down, and we have to take all the steps to ensure that there is a testing pattern which should be put in place. And especially, I would say, if not for the primary and the middle school, at least for the board-going students of 10th and 12th and the 12th standard students who are seeking admission to the professional college and arts and science college, there should be an assessment pattern which suits the need of the hour, keeping all these particular parameters in concern. And if that is going to be done, I think a real blending will happen in terms of assessment. This is my personal opinion, and I feel that that's the right way to look at it at this the present scenario.
talked about that assessment is going to happen in a kind of a blended method. It has to probably, if there's been a pandemic continues. Has there been any kind of thought about this remote proctoring, that we have remote exams which are online? What is, and vis-a-vis what was talked about earlier, that students might be copying from each other, that if it's an online exam or there's a proxy happening there. So any thoughts on how to sort of handle that?
Yeah, there is a lot thinking about that. Also proctoring the assessment which is going to happen to the online. The government, the board is also contemplating in what way it can be made possible so that such type of situation don't happen when the online process exam is being conducted. I think there is a thinking in the board that in case the online exam has to go through, well, we have to ensure that such thing doesn't happen at the examination time. I think they are working on it. They are working on it. Of course, the guidelines is going to come, and I'm sure they will keep all these particular factors in mind to ensure that the quality assessment happens for the students.
I'd heard of one particular case where they'd said that the exam was so tightly scheduled that if you didn't do it at the given time, you didn't make it, and there were so many questions to be answered that they had no chance to sort of talk to anybody or look that side here and there, or send their papers across to somebody, which is of course a bit of a stressful situation. But I don't know how successful that was. I just heard about it. What that really means on the ground is difficult to say. Well, thank you all of you. I think we've had some very interesting inputs today, and I can make out the audience is already raising its hands and has some questions. Balaji, would you help me out there? Who has the questions and what they are, so that our panelists can answer them?
Yes, Puneet. There is one question which I would like to raise here. That is from Sebi Paul. The question is, the CBSE has rationalized the syllabus of board classes, that is from classes 9 to 12, but the curriculum of classes up to 8 has not been reduced. As a result, both teachers and students are in a hurry to cover the syllabus. So he wants to know if anything can be done about it.
Well, I think that I'd like to answer this particular question. CBSE has given them what's called the privilege to the heads of the institution to rationalize the curriculum based on what the suggestion they given for class 9, 10, 11, 12. So the heads can take what's called, you can use the discretionary power and rationalize the curriculum for all classes starting from 1 to 8. So absolutely there's no issue about it. It did happen last year also, and the private schools and the Kendra Vidyalayas and Navodaya have adopted this particular strategy based on the guidelines, what the issue for 9 and 10 as well as 11 and 12.
There is a question from Gayatri Karthik on the compartmental or compart exams. That is, if a child does not do well in term 1 and 2 exams, they fail. And again, how are we looking at compart exams? So which will be again stressful. That's the question.
Definitely, I think that the board will come out with certain guidelines for that. You see, even now when the board results are going to be announced for class 12 by end of July, they are clearly stated if the assessment that is not satisfying the students, definitely the board will come out with another examination, maybe in a month or two, where the students can take it up through the offline process. So similarly for the term exam, term 1 and term 2, which they are contemplating for 2021 and 22, a similar guideline and situation will be offered to the students in case they're not able to qualify in term 1 or term 2.
If there are no other questions, we have about 10 minutes left. I would just like a one-line answer. May I sort of do that? A little bit of an innovative thing. May I get a one-line answer? We don't have time for longish answers now. As to how do you see the classroom of the future? I'd like a little input from all, maybe not one or two. Okay, we're going to be flexible there, but a short answer, let's put it, on how all of you see the classroom of the future.
Yeah, I would say the teacher training has to be relooked after the post-pandemic schooling it starts, because digitalization is going to be the order of the day, and in the B.Ed program, this particular utilization of this technology should be taught to the teachers to make it more effective, because now I see senior teachers, a lot of experience, vying with one another to equip themselves with this technology to give the best to the students. So that should happen at the B.Ed level if somebody wants to step into teaching profession.
So from that, I kind of assume you think that the classroom of the future is not going to be exactly like the classroom of the past. It's going to be a new normal classroom.
That's true. That's true, and that's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Naresh, would you like to give us your inputs on that?
The intervention of technology is going to stay, and it is going to be a hybrid learning. Physical classes alongside the support of technology.
Dr. Priscilla, how do you see the classroom of the future? How would you like to see it, in fact? Maybe it's a better question I should ask you.
I think the play and outdoor activities is important. So online can happen, but is there any chance, like for an assessment of few periods, children still go after the pandemic to the school and, to attend a PT class and do an assessment test? And then now, I think right now, maybe the next 5 years, like sort of a blended thing should happen. Because I think all of you will agree, how many of you feel the physical touch and physical presence of another person is not needed? Say, we have, okay, our spouse and, our friends, because we are very emotionally mature, but children need that touch, they need to slap each other, hug each other. See, if that physical touch, physical proximity is not going to be there, I'll tell you, if there is no life skills, it's absolutely the education will not have, the objective of education itself will not serve its purpose. I'm quite, anxious about that aspect. The physical proximity and, that interaction should also be permitted some way or the other.
Dr. Dengel, your views, please.
Maybe teachers have realized that they're sometimes less skilled in managing the screen program than the children. Maybe that has helped in changing the attitude towards teachers being learners too. So let's have more opening towards the adults. The teachers are also learners, and maybe bring more of that attitude into any classroom, into any situation. That is one aspect. And the other aspect is hopefully this appreciation of the social body, the class, maybe more focus on collaborative learning than on competitive learning. Because if you ask companies, what are they waiting for? They don't wait for the class toppers. They wait for people with team spirit, with team skills. And we do not exercise them enough in school. So I hope that there's more of this element in the future classrooms. I hope they're there now.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was a good note to end on. Collaborative learning, team spirit. You're right. You go out in the world, people are looking for team players and not for individuals out there. Prabhakar, Balaji, are there any more queries, or can we come to a conclusion? I would like your go ahead on that.
There's one question about skills. Why don't we teach class 10 to 12 only skills needed to face their subject in college? That's the question. Yeah?
Well, we love to teach the skills, but that's not the basic requirement for entering into a professional college or arts and science. So I would say, apart from the knowledge content which we are teaching the students, the skills can also be developed that we taught to the students. It can't be exclusive of one from the other. Both should be taught to the students to make them fit into the society. That's my personal opinion on that.
Thank you. With that, I think, thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to moderate this. It's been a very fruitful morning for me too, personally. I've learned a lot. And with that, I give the mic back to Team Chennai.
Thank you so much, Puneet. Yeah, we are absolutely out of time. So let me thank our esteemed panelists for today. Mr. Srinivasan from CBSE, Regional Officer CBSE, Dr. Naresh, Special Officer Kalvi TV and Joint Director of School Education, for presenting to us this wonderful project, Kalvi TV. Yeah, we look forward to working with him in future, sir. We thank Dr. Lucas Dengue. Dr. Dengel, there were a few comments in the chat thanking you for your profound insights, sir. Yeah, thank you so much. I thank Dr. Priscilla Sathianathan for representing the psychologist's point of view and being there in spite of her daughter's 18th birthday. Yeah, we wish her a very happy birthday, ma'am. Thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. We thank Dr. Satish. Yeah, Dr. Satish is my former school principal as well. So special thanks from me to you, sir. He's currently the Director General, ABS Group of Schools. Last but not the least, Mrs. Puneet Kaur from Goethe-Institut New Delhi for being here and moderating the discussion. Of course, I would like to thank Dr. Katrina Görgen, Director, Goethe-Institut Mueller Bhavan Chennai, for giving us the go-ahead for this program and being here for the entire duration, and greeting the panelists for today. Our team from Goethe-Institut Chennai, headed by Mr. Prabhakar Narayanan. So we've been working around the clock for the last few days to make this event possible. Thank you so much, dear team. Thank you to all the dear participants for posing your questions as well. Some of you participated very actively. Only I got the messages, but the participation was very active. So a very fruitful Saturday morning, like Puneet said. A couple of comments that I would like to pick from what the panelists said. Let's look forward to more collaborative learning in the future. And let's hope there is a good mix of knowledge, attitude, and skill in the education of the future. Thank you so much.